Gary Cooper. Gary Cooper was the ultimate Hollywood cowboy. Rugged, noble, and by all appearances a devoted family man. But when his will was revealed, it told a different story. Tucked within the legalese was a provision for someone unexpected, his longtime mistress. While his wife, Veronica Balfe, inherited the majority of his estate, Cooper had ensured that the woman he had secretly loved for years would also be taken care of. Fans who had idolized him as the ideal husband were stunned. How could the man who embodied American virtue have led such a double life? The revelation didn't just shake his fans, it raised questions about the nature of his marriage. Did Veronica know? Had she accepted it in silence, or had she been blindsided like the rest of the world? Some speculate that she had long been aware, given Cooper's reputation for past affairs. Others believe she may have learned the truth only after his passing, forced to confront a betrayal that had been legally set in stone. Regardless, Cooper's carefully structured will ensured that no one was left out. Not his family, not his secret lover. It was a final act of control from a man who had spent his life balancing two worlds, the devoted husband in public and the man with a hidden heart in private. Jack Benny. Imagine receiving a love letter every single day, even after the person who wrote it was gone. That was the reality for Mary Livingstone, the wife of the legendary comedian Jack Benny. When Benny passed in 1974, the world lost one of its greatest entertainers. But Mary discovered that his final act wasn't for the audience. It was for her. In his will, Benny had arranged for a single red rose to be delivered to Mary every day for the rest of her life. At first, she thought it was a mistake, a lingering order that would eventually stop, but the roses kept coming, day after day, year after year. Even as the world moved on, even as Hollywood changed, Benny's devotion remained, blooming in the form of a single perfect rose. By the time Mary passed in 1983, nearly a decade had gone by, and the roses had never stopped. It was a love story unlike any other, one that didn't end with death, but instead found a way to keep speaking, one petal at a time. Harry Houdini. On Halloween night, in the flickering glow of candlelight, Bess Houdini would sit in silence, waiting for a sign from the beyond. It was her late husband's final wish, a seance held every year on the anniversary of his passing. Harry Houdini, the world's most famous illusionist, had spent years exposing fraudulent mediums, yet he still clung to the hope that if an afterlife existed, he could find a way back. But year after year, the silence remained unbroken. For a decade, Bess kept her promise, listening for the secret-coded message only she and Harry knew, a phrase meant to prove without a doubt that he had crossed the veil. But no whispers came, no flickering lights, no spectral hands reaching from the darkness. Finally, in 1936, after 10 years of unanswered calls to the other side, Bess extinguished the candle and declared, 10 years is long enough to wait for any man. The seances ended, but the legend of Houdini's final trick lived on. Some claim he did make contact, just not with Bess. In the years since, self-proclaimed mediums have insisted they received his message, sparking endless debate. Was Houdini's silence proof that the afterlife was just another illusion? Or had he found a way through, only to be lost in the noise of deception he had fought so hard against? Joan Crawford. When Joan Crawford's will was revealed after her passing in May of 1977, it sent shockwaves through Hollywood. The Oscar-winning actress, known for her icy elegance on screen, had left behind a final act of real-life drama, one that would ignite a bitter family feud. In a move that stunned many, Crawford deliberately disinherited two of her 4 adopted children, Christina and Christopher, with a chillingly vague explanation. It is my intention to make no provision for my son Christopher or my daughter Christina for reasons which are well known to them. That single sentence fueled speculation for decades. What had happened behind closed doors to warrant such an exclusion? The answer, at least according to Christina, was a lifetime of cruelty. Just a year after her mother's passing, she published Mommy Dearest, an explosive memoir that painted Crawford as an abusive and controlling figure, one who allegedly subjected her children to terrifying punishments, erratic outbursts, and relentless emotional torment. The book became a sensation, forever altering Crawford's legacy. But was it the whole truth? Some of Crawford's closest friends and colleagues dismissed Christina's claims as exaggerated, insisting the actress was strict but not monstrous. Others, however, pointed to the will itself as the proof of a fractured relationship too deep to mend. With Crawford's estate valued at over $2 million, the decision to leave the bulk of it to charity and her loyal staff only deepened the wounds. Christina and Christopher contested the will, arguing they had been unfairly cut out. Though they eventually received a modest settlement, the damage was done. Crawford's final words had cemented a family rift that would never heal. Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich was a legend of the silver screen, but in her final act she delivered a twist worthy of Hollywood itself. When her will was revealed after her passing in April 1992, it sent shockwaves through her family because most of them were left with nothing. The glamorous German-American actress, who had built an empire of fame and fortune, made the stunning decision to disinherit nearly all of her relatives. Instead, she left the majority of her estate, including her prized collection of couture gowns, to one person, her daughter, Maria Riva. The exclusion of her other relatives wasn't just an oversight, it was deliberate, reportedly fueled by deep-seated personal conflicts that had simmered for years. While Dietrich was adored by audiences worldwide, behind closed doors her relationships were far more complicated. Some sources suggest that family tensions had been brewing for decades, with Dietrich maintaining a famously icy demeanor toward those she felt had wronged her. The drama didn't end with her will. After her passing, her estate, including rare Hollywood memorabilia, was auctioned off, giving the world a glimpse into the lavish life she had meticulously curated. From hand-stitched gowns worn on the red carpet to personal letters from some of Hollywood's biggest names, the sale only reinforced her deep ties to the golden age of cinema. But the real mystery remains. What exactly led Dietrich to cut off her own family? Was it a final act of defiance or a calculated move to cement her legacy on her own terms? Fred Astaire. Fred Astaire spent his life perfecting the art of dance, and even in death he wanted to protect his legacy. In his will, the legendary performer made one thing crystal clear. His likeness was never to be used in commercials or films after he passed. He feared that technology would one day twist his image into something he never intended, reducing his life's work to a mere gimmick. And yet, despite his adamant wishes, his estate later approved something that would have likely made him turn in his grave. A commercial featuring a computer-generated version of him dancing with a vacuum cleaner. The advertisement, released in the late 1990s, sparked outrage among fans and critics alike. How could the very people meant to safeguard his legacy betray his final request? His widow, Robin Smith, defended the decision, claiming it was a tribute, but many saw it as a blatant cash grab. The controversy raised an unsettling question. How much control does an artist really have over their work once they are gone? Astaire's case set a precedent, and today we see similar debates surrounding digital recreations of celebrities in film and advertising. With artificial intelligence advancing at an alarming rate, the potential for posthumous manipulation is greater than ever. If Astaire were alive today, he would likely be horrified by how easily his artistic integrity was overridden. His story serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that even the most carefully laid plans can be rewritten when money is involved. Gloria Swanson. Gloria Swanson was no stranger to the spotlight, but even in death, she managed to keep Hollywood guessing. When the silent film icon passed away in April 1983, her will contained an unusual request. Her personal diaries were to remain sealed for decades. Why? That's the question that has haunted film historians and gossip lovers alike. Swanson, known for her dazzling on-screen presence and equally dramatic personal life, had long been linked to high-profile romances, including a rumored affair with Joseph P. Kennedy, the patriarch of the Kennedy dynasty. Some believe her diaries hold the key to explosive secrets about their relationship, secrets that could have altered the course of political history. Her estate was meticulously divided among her children, but it was her insistence on secrecy that fueled speculation. What was she hiding? Was it a scandal too great for Hollywood to handle, or something even more personal? Over the years, whispers have emerged about the contents of those diaries. Claims of shocking confessions, hidden affairs, and untold Hollywood betrayals. Yet despite the passage of time, the full truth remains locked away, leaving Swanson's legacy wrapped in mystery. Even in the modern era, her name resurfaces in discussions of old Hollywood's best-kept secrets, proving that some stories never truly fade. They just wait for the right moment to be uncovered. Carole Lombard. Carole Lombard's final act of patriotism wasn't just in life, it was in death. The beloved screwball comedy star, known for her quick wit and dazzling charm, left behind something far greater than just a Hollywood legacy. Before her tragic plane crash in January of 1942, Lombard had already ensured that her fortune would serve the country she so fiercely loved. While many celebrities of the era contributed to the war effort, few went as far as Lombard. She had been tirelessly selling war bonds, raising over $2 million in a single tour before boarding that ill-fated flight. But what many didn't realize at the time was that her commitment extended beyond her public efforts. She had legally arranged for a portion of her estate to go directly toward the war effort, a decision that would only come to light after her passing. Lombard's will made it clear. Even in death, she wanted to support the fight against tyranny. Given her outspoken patriotism and close ties to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, some have speculated that she may have even had deeper government connections, fueling theories that her plane crash wasn't just an accident, but something more sinister. While no official evidence supports this, the eerie timing of her death, just weeks after the attack on Pearl Harbor, has kept conspiracy theories alive for decades. Whether fate or something more, Carole Lombard's final gift to America was a testament to her unwavering devotion, making her loss all the more heartbreaking. Mary Pickford. Mary Pickford was a queen of silent film, but her greatest act may have been one the world never saw. While she dazzled audiences with her golden curls and expressive performances, behind the scenes, she was quietly ensuring that Hollywood's forgotten faces would never be left destitute. In her will, Pickford set aside a significant portion of her multi-million-dollar fortune to aid aging actors who had fallen on hard times, creating a fund that would continue long after her passing in 1979. At a time when the industry had little safety net for its former stars, this was nothing short of revolutionary. Despite living out her later years in near seclusion at her lavish Pickfair estate, Pickford never turned her back on the industry that made her famous. She had seen firsthand how quickly Hollywood could move on, leaving once-beloved performers struggling to survive. Some of her contemporaries, once household names, had been reduced to poverty, and Pickford refused to let that be their final act. Her fund became a lifeline, quietly providing financial support to those who had been discarded by an industry obsessed with youth and reinvention. What makes her generosity even more remarkable is how little she spoke about it. Unlike modern celebrities who publicize their philanthropy, Pickford kept her charitable efforts largely hidden. Even after her death, the full extent of her generosity only became clear as her estate was carefully managed to continue her mission. Decades later, the impact of her fund is still felt, proving that while Hollywood may have forgotten many of its early stars, Mary Pickford never did. Douglas Fairbanks Sr. When Douglas Fairbanks Sr. passed in late December of 1939, Hollywood mourned the loss of one of its first great action stars. But behind the silver screen legend was a far more complicated story, one that played out in his final will. Despite amassing a fortune as one of the highest paid actors of the silent era, Fairbanks Sr.'s estate was shockingly diminished by the time of his death. And the biggest surprise? His only son, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., was left with just a fraction of it. Instead, the bulk of his remaining wealth went to his last wife, Lady Sylvia Ashley, a British socialite with a string of famous husbands. This lopsided inheritance immediately fueled speculation about the father-son relationship. Had there been a falling out? Or was Fairbanks Sr. simply caught up in his final marriage, leaving his son behind in more ways than one? Some reports suggest that Fairbanks Jr. had long struggled to step out of his father's shadow, forging his own career in Hollywood while dealing with the weight of a legendary name. Others point to Fairbanks Sr.'s lavish spending habits, which had drained much of his once vast wealth. Whatever the truth, the will painted a stark picture. The swashbuckling hero who had once embodied Hollywood royalty had left behind a fractured legacy, one where his own son was seemingly an afterthought. Jean Harlow. When Jean Harlow passed away, Hollywood was devastated, but the real shock came when her will was revealed. Despite being one of the biggest stars of her time, Harlow had almost nothing to her name. How could a woman who commanded top billing and massive salaries be nearly penniless? The answer pointed directly to her mother, Jean Bellow, a domineering figure who controlled every aspect of Harlow's life, including her finances. Bellow had full access to her daughter's earnings, and by the time of Harlow's tragic passing, nearly all of it had vanished. Some speculate that Bellow mismanaged the fortune, spending lavishly while her daughter worked tirelessly. Others believe darker forces were at play. Was Harlow's money siphoned away by those in her inner circle? To this day, the mystery remains unsolved, leaving behind one of Hollywood's most haunting financial enigmas. W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields was always one step ahead of the law, the banks, and even his own family. The legendary comedian, famous for his sharp wit and love of a good drink, had a secret. He didn't trust banks, not one bit. So instead of keeping his fortune in a single account, he scattered it across numerous banks under fake names, each more absurd than the last. Some accounts were under ridiculous pseudonyms, while others were so well hidden that even the banks themselves didn't realize they were holding Fields' money. When his will was finally read, the truth came out, and it left even his closest friends in shock. No one had any idea just how much he had squirreled away, or how determined he was to keep it hidden. Fields had spent years dodging taxes and financial scrutiny, moving his money like a magician performing a trick. Some funds were found in banks across the country, while others were stashed in safe deposit boxes, tucked away in places only he knew about. His paranoia about losing his wealth was legendary, and his methods were just as bizarre. Some reports suggest he even kept cash hidden in cigar boxes and buried in random locations. But the real chaos began after his passing. Sorting through his estate became a financial scavenger hunt, with lawyers and family members scrambling to track down every last hidden dollar. It took years to fully untangle the mess, and even then some think not all of his secret accounts were ever found. What makes Fields' financial secrecy even more fascinating is the speculation that he may have gone to even greater lengths than anyone realized. Some historians believe there could still be unclaimed bank accounts or hidden caches of money waiting to be discovered. His distrust of institutions ran so deep that he may have taken some of his secrets to the grave, and if that's true, there could still be a fortune out there, locked away under a name that no one has ever connected to W.C. Fields. Rudolph Valentino. Rudolph Valentino's death sent shockwaves through Hollywood, but it was his will that left an even bigger mystery. Among the usual bequests, there was an unnamed beneficiary. No details, no clues, just an eerie void where a name should have been. Instantly, speculation ran wild. Was this a secret lover he had hidden from the public eye? A confidant he sought to protect? Some whispered that it was a man, fueling rumors about Valentino's private life, while others believed it was a woman whose identity could have shattered reputations. The ambiguity only deepened when close friends admitted they had no idea who it could be. Over the years, countless theories have surfaced, but no concrete evidence has ever emerged. Even now, nearly a century later, the identity of this mysterious heir remains unknown, adding yet another layer to the legend of Hollywood's first great romantic idol. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo spent decades avoiding the spotlight, but when her will was revealed, she made headlines one last time. The world had long assumed she lived modestly, tucked away in her New York apartment, but her estate told a different story, over $32 million in assets. How did a woman who shunned Hollywood's extravagance amass such a fortune? It turns out Garbo wasn't just a brilliant actress, she was a shrewd investor. While her peers spent lavishly, she quietly built a portfolio of stocks and real estate, ensuring her wealth far outlived her fame. But the biggest shock? Instead of leaving her fortune to Hollywood charities or industry friends, she gave nearly everything to her niece, bypassing the world that had once adored her. Some speculated this was her final statement, proof that she had never truly belonged to the film industry, only tolerated it long enough to secure her future. Even in death, Garbo remained an enigma, leaving behind more questions than answers. Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck's final act wasn't on the silver screen, it was in her will, and it sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Despite adopting Dion Anthony Fay as a baby, she left him absolutely nothing. Not a cent, not a token, not even a mention beyond an explicit exclusion. Instead, her $1 million estate was divided among charities and close friends, solidifying the bitter estrangement that had defined their relationship for decades. Their clashes had been public knowledge. Dion had a troubled youth, marked by rebellion and legal battles, and by the time he reached adulthood, their bond was beyond repair. But the decision to cut him out so completely, that was a statement. Some speculated it was a final punishment, a way to ensure he never benefited from her success. Others believed it was simply closure, the last chapter in a story long since finished. Whatever the reason, it left Hollywood and fans alike questioning just how deep the wounds between them truly ran. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart's love for Lauren Bacall wasn't just Hollywood magic, it was real, deep, and unshakable. Even in his final days, he made sure she would never forget their story. In his will, he left her a small gold whistle, a seemingly simple trinket with a world of meaning. It was a direct callback to their first film together, To Have and Have Not, where Bacall famously teased, "You know how to whistle, don't you?" That line marked the beginning of their legendary romance, and Bogart ensured it would stay with her forever. But his devotion didn't stop there. He arranged for Bacall to inherit the majority of his estate, securing her future in a way few Hollywood stars ever did for their spouses. This was more than just financial security. It was a testament to how much he cherished her. Even as illness took its toll, his thoughts remained with Bacall, proving that their bond was more than just a silver screen fantasy. It was a love story for the ages, sealed with a whistle and a final act of devotion. John Wayne. John Wayne wasn't just a Hollywood icon, he was a symbol of rugged American grit, but when it came to his final farewell, the Duke made sure his fans knew exactly how he wanted to be remembered. His tombstone bears the words feo, fuerte y formal, Spanish for ugly, strong, and dignified. A curious choice considering his carefully crafted on-screen persona. Some say it was a nod to his real-life philosophy. Life wasn't about looking pretty, it was about standing tall. Others believe it was a private joke, a self-aware wink from a man who knew his own legend. But his will revealed something even more unexpected, a softer, more sentimental side. He ensured his 7 children were well taken care of, dividing his multi-million-dollar estate with precision, and in a final act of generosity he left a portion to cancer research, a battle he had fought himself. The Duke's legacy wasn't just about the tough guy in the cowboy hat, it was about the man who, even in his final moments, thought about the people he loved and the fans who never stopped believing in him. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. Also consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our new videos each week. Thanks for watching.